Yeah.
Jefferson.
Oh.
Let the record button start first. Hold
Oh.
on.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pretend nothing happened. I'm so quick to start.
I know you're excited. I get it. I'll let you know when the red light's on and you can get started.
It's recording. It's there.
It is?
I see it on my
mine.
side.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So my name is Jefferson Ruiz. I am a dietetic intern with Kaiser University, working with Palm Beach Wellness Program to bring you guys a carbohydrate presentation. And we're going to start with a cool little experiment that'll make sense later on, but it's like mind blowing. Like if you have video or if you guys are like on your phone, look up just for these 10 seconds. This is going to be worth it. So down here, I have 3 little containers of water, right? So this is just pure water. This is water with an enzyme in it, right? And this is another water with enzyme in it. But the difference is we have our white bread and our whole grain bread in here. And we're going to talk about the different carbohydrates, right? This is our simple carbohydrates. What I'm going to do is I'm putting enzymes in it. Enzymes are what break down food in your body. But like I said, what I'm going to say is that enzymes break down foods in a different rate of speed. So I have sugar here, right? These are simple carbs. Our simple carbs here, right? Then I have my complex carbs that are white, our white pastas, our white breads. And then I have fiber, full of nutrients, full of fiber, right? A very complex carbohydrate. And this is a control. That way you guys are like, you think, oh, it's just the water. The water is breaking it down, right? The enzyme isn't doing anything. This is a control. So this is just pure water with white slice of bread. So I'm going to let this sit here for about 1 or 2 minutes. So we're going to start the presentation, and then we will go back to this and watch what happens. It's insane. So let's go ahead and start. So can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So let's talk about carbs. All right, let's talk about first what is a carbohydrate. A carbohydrate is a nutrient, right? Our nutrients are more than just vitamins and minerals. They are fats, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins, right? Phytochemicals. All of those are nutrients, but they're typically classified by their micro or macro. When we think of macro, we think about macrocosmos, right? Big, macro is big, micro is small, right? Microscope, right? Look at little, very small bacteria or viruses. So macro is something we consume in large amounts, right? Even though it's only about 1 gram, 2 grams, 5 grams, per macronutrient, they're still consumed in way bigger amounts than we need of our micronutrients. So our macronutrients are going to be fats, carbs, and proteins, and they can be broken down as energy. We can use either one of the 3 as energy to fuel ourselves. While our micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. Those help us, our body parts, rely on like different mechanisms to work efficiently. And then now that we know what a carbohydrate is, let's talk about types of carbohydrates, right? A simple carbohydrate is our sugars, right? These are our refined sugars, our corn syrup, right? Or fruit juices. These break down very quickly, very fast. If you guys look at the graphic here on the right, it says sucrose on the corner. Sucrose is our table sugar. This is what we find in a lot of our foods. A lot of when we make our fruit juices at home, or Hawaiian punch or Kool-Aid, right? We add the powder, and the sucrose is our table sugar. These, as you can see, only has 2 little blocks, right? When our body breaks down sucrose, it breaks them down into glucose, and fructose. And this is what our body uses as energy. No matter what kind of carbohydrate you have, at the end of the day, they're going to go down to glucose, whether it's a long starch or it's going to be a complex carbohydrate, a simple carbohydrate. They all end up as glucose. But how fast they get to glucose is what matters. Because if your body has a lot of the glucose in its body, it's going to go to the bloodstream very quickly, and your blood sugar levels are going to increase very fast because the job's already done. When you consume simple carbohydrates, it automatically gets converted to glucose quickly because it's already been broken down. Now let's look at the starch. Let's look at the graphic under it. Starch are long chains. Your body sees that chain and goes, oh, this is not ready to be eaten right now. I need to break it down. So it starts to break down the chains one by one to break it down. So you get a slow release of glucose into the bloodstream. So it never gets a spike up very quickly. Unlike when we eat our candies, our fruits, our corn syrup, our refined sugar, raw sugar as well. Raw sugar does not make a difference between when it comes to raw and refined sugar. They both are simple carbohydrates. They both should be limited, and we gotta be careful when we consume them both. Fruit juice concentrate, they're all simple sugars. And then we go to complex carbohydrates. This is when I talked about, this is the long chain one. Now, since the body has to take time to break it down, it's going to increase the blood sugar slowly. It doesn't get a chance to elevate those levels very, very quickly. These are going to be our vegetables, our rice, our pasta. Fiber is also complex carbs, our beans, our legumes. Those are all complex, and it's a big difference between the two. Now, let's go back to our little experiment here. So everyone come down. All right, let me make sure. This is a little weight I want to show you guys. All right, so let's go back to our little experiment, right? We talked about how complex something is. It'll break down faster. Well, this is our simple, right? This is our candy. This is our sugar. This is our soda. This is our fruit juices. This is what it is. So I put an enzyme in there. It's pudding. It's regular pudding. But how about this? Does that look like pudding anymore? It's watery. Yes, that was actual real pudding. That was actual pudding. Within the last 2 minutes, this is what happened to it. This is pudding. It's just completely watery. If I'll shake it a little bit, you'll see it's watery. Why? Because the enzymes broke down the carbohydrates so fast because they're already broken down. So this is what happens in your body. This right here is ready to be absorbed. This is ready right to the bloodstream. This is ready to be absorbed. It didn't take much work. Now let's go to the white carbohydrates, right? This is our stomach enzymes, right? So we have not everything is replicated exactly, right? We have bile, we have mastication, we have stomach movement. So that helps break down more. But this is like the best we can do outside of the stomach, right? So this is our white. So if I take the end, right? If I take the end, I pick it up, it breaks down very quickly. So let me pick it up more. It's kind of hard to pick it up. If I pick up from the middle, it's already gushy. Like it's already like, it's like almost, this is delightful, right? You guys hungry after this? So it breaks down quickly. And you're probably saying right now, that's just water. You're just adding the bread in the water, and that's why it's doing that. Well, how about this? Why don't I go over here? This is why we have the control, right? We have to have good experiments. So this is our just plain water, right? Water, bread, enzymes in bread. So I'll pick it up. And look at that. It's actually holding together more, right? I'll pick it up here. It stays intact. Now, given, it is a little breakdown, but look at that. I can't do that with this. Good luck, right? I picked a piece of it, and this is mush. Like I can't pick up any single piece. It's already turned into a sloppy muck, right? But that's just to show that what this actually does work. So you can still see it's intact. It's enough. So these work. So the simple carbs, they broke down so fast, right? And then we got our complex carb, a better choice. Still broke down pretty fast, but a slower rate. Let's go fiber. This is the hero, right? This is the MVP. This is fiber. So if I pick up a piece of the corner and the whole thing's there, it's probably going to collapse. Oh, it collapsed finally, but it's still intact. Like it's still together because the complex carb, it takes longer. And this is what happens when it's ready to be absorbed in the bloodstream. It takes longer. So now that I got to show you guys an exact like physical demonstration on how they affect you and your body, you'll see it makes sense as we talk about later on the different complex carbohydrates. So let's move back up. Hopefully that was good. I thought it was pretty awesome. So now we talked about, it's right up on top, breaks down slowly, right? The complex carb or our whole wheat or multigrain breads and pastas, those are going to break down slowly, while the other ones are going to break down very fast. Oh, let me go ahead and expand this. Okay. All right, perfect. So let's talk about fiber. I talked about how the more complex it is, the harder to break down, right? And I talked about how micronutrients all turn into energy at the end of the day. Fiber is the exception, though. Fiber is a complex carb, and it's a carb, but it does not get broken down into food. We lack the enzymes to break down these kind of carbs. So what happens is that it comes into our body and leaves our body as well. But it does amazing work along the way. It can help reduce cholesterol levels by absorbing bile. It can help add bulk to your stool. It regulates your blood sugars because it doesn't break down. So it helps slow down the digestion rate of the sugars you consume. And also, we'll talk about what exactly is fiber in terms of the grain. So on the graphic on the right, this is a seed, right? When farmers pick these seeds, this is where your breads, your pastas, and this is how they all start off at. Now, if you look on the outside, it's bran. Bran is the fiber. This is the shell of the seed. Now, we don't like this taste as much, so what manufacturers will do is they'll peel off the bran and they'll give you the endosperm. And that endosperm looks more attractive. It tastes better, right? So that's what's typically sold. That's our white bread. Our multi-grain bread is a bran and the endosperm together. But when we peel off this bran and just to have this flavor and this look for just the white breads, we lose on a lot of key nutrients. The bran has all kinds of minerals and vitamins, antioxidants, magnesium, copper, zinc, B vitamins. Those are all things we lose when we strip that seed and only have the endosperm. It's why it's so important to have very complex carbohydrates in our diet. And the bran also has fiber in it too. So all these things are helpful when you eat multi-grain and whole grain breads and pastas compared to if you eat white breads and pastas. Not to say that white bread and pasta isn't good for you. It's okay. They're not bad. But carbohydrates are a good choice. And then the multi-grain are a better choice. Make better choices. So that's what fiber is. So fiber is using the endosperm of the seed, but fiber is more than just grains, right? We know it's in vegetables, right? So we know we eat fruits and veggies, right? The fruits, the skin of the fruit itself has fiber. There's fiber alongside the cell walls too. So fiber is definitely something we need to be including in our diet. You guys see next slide. I want to make sure it transitions. The more complex, the better.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so it's transition. Just want to double check. All right, so this is what I was talking about. Standard choice and a better choice. So on the left, we have our white breads, our white pastas, our crackers, right? These are things we're used to eating, we're used to seeing all the time, right? And we think that, they're may be a little unhealthy. They're not unhealthy. They're perfectly fine, but we just got to make sure how much we're consuming of each. We want to have the more complex carbohydrates. Because like I showed you, right, in our demonstration, that the white bread broke down much faster than the whole grain bread. And the whole grain bread gives you that slow release of energy, which is a good thing. It makes you feel more full, right, because of the fiber. That's what fiber does. Fiber makes you feel more full. So if you feel more full, you'll eat less, right? So that's why we want to emphasize on getting our whole grain breads, our brown rices, right? Even on crackers if we can, right? Look at your labels. When you see, don't just go by color too, right? Don't go by color because sometimes it may look a color, but it still could be just something left in it, but it's not the fiber. Look at your labels and look how much fiber is in it. If we're looking at 5-6 grams of fiber, that's good per serving. That's pretty good. So let's make sure that we're having fiber in our diet. Let's not make standard choices. Let's make better choices. Now let's talk about fruit juices, right? Because we know we're supposed to have fruits and veggies, but just because it says a fruit juice on there doesn't make it equivalent to a fruit, right? So just like we talked about how the grain seed is processed to take the bran off to use only the endosperm, this is also processed to remove some really good nutrients that we need. Fruits, the skin of the fruit has fiber in it, right? There are nutrients in that skin, right? There's fiber inside of it. What happens is when the manufacturers get fruits and veggies, they crush them, right? They're pressed and all the juices are come out. But what's left over? What's left over is all those nutrients, all the fiber in it. Those are things we need to be eating, right? Just like we did with our experiment where the slow release, the same thing happens with the fiber in the fruits and veggies. When we drink these juices, like from fruitables, nothing against them, it's just a little quick example. When we drink these juices, there's nothing to slow that digestion down. It's straight sugar. Even though there's some vitamins in there, why aren't we giving them whole foods where there's fiber in it? When there's vitamins included in the fruit itself, right? We don't need to be adding vitamins to our juices and our waters if the fruits are already there. Whole foods are already there. Why don't we consume them that way, right? Because we leave behind these things. So let's see this ad. This ad, if we look at the green rectangle up on the top right, middle right, it says, help kids get their daily fruits and veggies. So this is not equivalent to a fruits and veggie, as we talked about, right? And we know now why. Because the fruits are pressed. They're not getting the exact nutrients that they would. If you turn around this label, you're not going to see as much fiber as you would with an actual real fruit, right? The fruit's going to make them feel fuller, they'll be more satisfied with it, and they get a good connection with fruits and veggies. They don't have to drink their veggies. This is right here. 1 combined serving of fruits and vegetables with 1/3 less sugar, which is not what we should be doing. So when we look at this, we go, oh, wow, 1 combined serving. I guess I can just give them, I can give my child, a cup of Rootables instead of having to buy fruit all the time. It's more convenient, I know, but it's just not the same. Now let's talk about low carb diets, right? I hear about low carb diets all the time, right? So the first answer to the question, can you lose weight on a low carb diet? You can, right? You can definitely lose weight on it, but it's not because it's a low carb diet. It's not because of the carbs. The lack of carbs is not what made you gain the weight. It's simple. Any diet you go on that makes you in a caloric deficit, so anytime you're expending or using more calories than you actually are consuming, wait, what did I just say? Did I mess that up? Okay. So anytime you're using up more energy than you're actually bringing it in, you're going to lose weight. Doesn't matter if it's low carbs, low protein, low fat, low diet, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you are using more energy than you're consuming, you're going to lose weight. But it's not the ketogenic diet or low carb diet that's doing it. But let's keep something else in mind, though. When we consume a lot of fat, we know that some of the fat, although there are good fats out there, that it's hard to get some of the just pure good fats. You're going to get some of these unsaturated, you're going to get some of these saturated fats, which it's okay to have some, but we know that these saturated fats are accompanied with cholesterol, which we also got to manage. So why are we putting ourselves on a low carb diet and have to worry about heart disease later on if we're consuming high saturated fats? And remember we just talked about the bran, the endosperm, all these nutrients that are in our foods. Well, if we're not getting much carbs, how are we getting these nutrients? It then becomes a guide or like a battle to try and make sure that am I getting all the nutrients from my low carb diet than I would a well-balanced diet? Because our foods, our breads are fortified with folic acid, like all kinds of vitamin minerals that we need. So if we're not getting it from carbs, how are we getting it from the ketogenic diet? Yeah, it's possible because they do eat veggies as well. But now it means that you have to make sure you have to go out your way to make sure that you are getting all the vitamins and minerals you need. But while with a balanced diet, we don't need to do that. With a balanced diet, we are getting our meat. So don't worry about, oh yeah, but how are you? If I'm getting my too much saturated fat, well, how are you getting your vitamin B12? Which B12 is in our meats. Well, simple. With a balanced diet, you are getting the meat, so you are getting your B12. You are getting your folic acid with your grains. You are getting your fiber. So those are all very important factors to think about if you decide to go on a low carb diet. Why not just have why not have just a well-balanced diet, lower on calories? So low carb diets, personally for me, I don't recommend them. I don't recommend them. You could do them if you like, but I don't really recommend them because you're missing out on so much nutrients that you could from carbs. As long as we lower our calories, then we'll lose weight. We don't need it. It has nothing to do with carbs. So before you decide to go on something like a low carb diet, here's some questions to ask yourself. Is this diet sustainable for me? Remember, diets come off as in, they'll say right here, lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks, right? 14-day ketogenic meal planner, right? Lose X amount in X amount of months, weeks. But as soon as you lose that weight in a diet and you decide to go back to your old diet, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to gain the weight back again. So why put ourselves in that situation? Why don't we have, instead of a diet, which I don't like diets, how about we do a lifestyle change? A lifestyle change of introducing ourselves with nutrient-dense foods and lowering our calories with a well-balanced diet. Why cross off a certain nutrient when the nutrient is okay? There's nothing wrong with, like I said in the beginning, right? The macronutrients, fats, carbs, and proteins, all are used as energy. They're all used as energy. There's no villain on either one that says, oh, no, you do something very specific that I don't like. Each one has its little traits on it, but there's not one that it's harmful by itself. They're all okay. We just need moderation and we need balance. So you gotta ask yourself, can you be on a low carb diet forever? Because if a diet isn't temporary, it's permanent. How might this diet affect my relationship with food? I've talked to a lot of people who've tried out many different diets, right? And that's good because what's happening, it shows that they're dedicated, they're really trying to lose weight. So this didn't work out, well, I'm not giving up, I'm trying it again. That's good. But the problem is that why are we trying diets instead of lifestyle changes? And these changing up diets messes up with people's relationship with food. Because our relationship with food is very, very important. Very important. So a well-balanced diet is better than having to hop from diet to diet. So once again, talk to a dietitian, talk to one of us, the interns, and we'll be more glad to help you out with that. And then also, will this diet make me unhappy? We should love food. Food is one of the biggest pleasures in life. We should enjoy food. We should love to have it. It should be visually appealing. It should taste great. We should enjoy it. We shouldn't have to force food down our throats just because, oh, I have to do it because of a diet. That's not how it should be. You can enjoy a very well-balanced diet that tastes great. It all just involves planning and education. It's learning about it, you know? Diabetes now. There's always an exception to the rule, right? So I'm talking about how great carbs are, and because they are great, as you can see with how nutrient dense they can be, you know, we talk about, but diabetic patients have a certain different kind of scenario because I can't tell a diabetic patient to go ahead have a whole big, you know, bowl of a white pasta because you're down to enjoy yourself every now and then, because that's going to affect their health, right? So if you're diabetic and you don't understand how to control your carbs, how to count your carbs, you've ever heard of exchanges, well, definitely reach out and get help because your diabetes can be managed with education and planning. So don't worry about, oh, well, I'm a diabetic patient, you know, so all this carbs thing, to me, has to go out the window. I can't listen to what you have to say because I'm a diabetic patient. You can still take in carbs. Because remember, fiber is a carb. Fiber is important, but the fiber you can't absorb. If you consume fiber, your blood sugars are not going to go up because you can't absorb them. They can't be broken down in the first place at all. So something to keep in mind also, that carbs are still good for diabetic patients, but it's about managing and learning how to control them. And that's all we have. I try to make it very quick, very easy, you know, very simple. Hopefully that kind of taught you guys a lot. Now I'm more than happy to answer questions. So please, you know, turn on your mics, type some questions in the chat box, and we'll get the questions again.
All right. Thank you, Jefferson. That was awesome.